Most swords take lives, but some demand them. Right now, you could walk into the Tokyo National Museum and stand inches away from a blade that once cut through 6 human bodies and the platform beneath them in a single stroke. But here's what the museum won't tell you. The first sword we'll talk about today has never had an owner that lasted. They'll let you see it. They'll even tell you its name, Dōjigiri Yasutsuna. But no one is allowed to touch it. Not because it's priceless, not because it's ancient, but because some blades whisper to their masters, calling for blood, even their own. Every shogunate that possessed this sword eventually fell to ruin, and in Japan, a land shaped by steel and spirit, a cursed blade doesn't just kill the enemy, it consumes the soul of the one who draws it. There's a reason this video lists 4 cursed blades, not 5. In Japanese, the number 4, shi, sounds identical to the word for death, and one of these 4 swords is responsible for destroying 3 generations of the same bloodline. Which blade hunted a single family across decades? Why do museums keep them behind multiple barriers? And what happens to those who dare to wield them? These are 4 legendary blades so feared that entire shogunates banned them from existence. That fear of the number 4 runs deeper than you might think. Even today, hospitals skip the 4th floor. Apartments numbered 4 sell for less. Gift sets come in 3s or 5s, never 4. But this sinister number was just the beginning of their dark legacy. In feudal Japan, master swordsmiths believed their mental state during forging passed directly into the blade. A smith who worked in anger created angry swords. A smith touched by madness created something far worse. The samurai who carried these katana didn't see them as mere weapons. They were living things, partners with their own will, their own hunger. And when patterns emerged, when specific bloodlines fell to specific blades, even the skeptics took notice. Because these weren't peasant superstitions. These were documented by court historians, recorded in official documents, and eventually banned by the shogunate itself. Let's begin with the blade that started as a protector and became a family destroyer. Onimaru Kunitsuna, the Nightmare Blade. In the year 1200, Hojo Tokimasa ruled as Japan's most powerful regent. But every night the same nightmare tormented him. A small demon, no bigger than a child, would appear in his room, sitting on his chest, stealing his breath. Night after night, the greatest warrior in Japan struggled helplessly against a dream. Then one night, something stranger happened. An old man appeared in his dream, claiming to be the spirit of his neglected sword, Onimaru Kunitsuna, the demon slayer hanging on his wall. According to legend, the spirit whispered, "I am your sword. Clean away my rust, and I will rid you of this demon." Tokimasa woke, puzzled but desperate. He sprang up from his slumber and polished the blade until it gleamed. Then he placed it upright in his room. That very night, witnesses claim, the sword moved by itself. Without anyone touching it, the blade fell from its mount, slicing through a silver ornament on his dresser, a small pot topped with a decorative figure, which on closer inspection had the form of a demon. After this incident, Tokimasa's nightmares stopped instantly. You might think this a blessing, but this was only the beginning. In truth, the Hojo clan's luck died that very night. Within a generation, the Hojo lost everything. Their enemies overwhelmed them. The family scattered. The cursed sword passed to the unsuspecting Nitta clan. Nitta Yoshisada carried Onimaru into battle, believing it would protect him as it had slain the demon that haunted Tokimasa. In just 3 years he was killed brutally in combat, betrayed by his own allies. Shortly thereafter, the imperial family took possession of the ill-fated sword, hoping to contain its power. Within only 2 years, the prince who had accepted it was dead. After that tragedy, the emperor returned it to the Honami family, feudal Japan's most respected sword experts. His message bore a single word: inauspicious. Today, the Onimaru Kunitsuna belongs to the Imperial Household Agency. They own it, and while it is listed in their official catalogue, the sword is rarely, if ever, displayed. When questioned on the subject, they cite preservation concerns. The cursed katana remains in storage, hidden away from public view. But if you thought that nightmare demon was terrifying, wait until you hear about our next blade, one that demanded blood sacrifices from anyone who dared test its edge. Kusanagi-no-Tsurugi, the Lost Storm Sword. Some cursed blades were forged by human hands, but Kusanagi, the grass-cutting sword, came from somewhere else entirely. According to the Kojiki, Japan's oldest historical record, the storm god Susanoo discovered this blade in the tail of an 8-headed serpent, a sword born from a monster, found by a god of chaos and storms. For generations it served as one of Japan's 3 sacred treasures. Prince Yamato Takeru used it to cut burning grass and control the wind itself, saving his life from an assassination attempt, hence the name Kusanagi, the grass cutter. But in 688 CE, Emperor Tenmu fell mysteriously ill. When court physicians could find no cause, the emperor himself blamed the unholy sword. The Nihon Shoki, Japan's official history, records what happened next. The emperor ordered Kusanagi removed from the palace immediately. He recovered. According to the story, the sword was sent to Atsuta Shrine, where brave priests were determined to contain its power. Then came 1185, the Genpei War's final battle at Danoura. As the Taira clan teetered on the brink of defeat, the child emperor Antoku's grandmother made a desperate choice. She took the 7-year-old emperor in her arms, along with the sacred sword, and threw herself into the sea. "There is another kingdom beneath the waves," she promised him. Sometime later the boy's body was recovered. The sword, however, seemed lost. Today, Atsuta Shrine claims to house Kusanagi. But here's what they don't advertise. No one has actually seen it since the 12th century, not even the emperor himself. During coronation ceremonies, a wrapped object is presented. Its contents? Never revealed, never verified. The priests whisper opening it would bring catastrophe. Is the real Kusanagi still beneath the waves where Emperor Antoku drowned? Is the shrine protecting an empty box? Or is there something inside so dangerous that even looking at it risks awakening its storm-bringing curse? But not all cursed blades vanished into legend. Some still cut through the modern world. You can see our next fearsome tachi for yourself at the Tokyo National Museum. Just don't ask to watch it in action. Dōjigiri Yasutsuna, the executioner's pride. Unlike our lost storm sword of divine origin, you can visit Dōjigiri Yasutsuna today, Gallery 13, Tokyo National Museum. But the plaque beside it tells only half the story. They'll give you the famous legendary tale that it was forged by mastersmith Yasutsuna to kill Shuten Doji, the demon king, a giant with blazing red skin and iron strength, who terrorized Kyoto, kidnapping noble women and drinking their blood. The emperor heard the plea of his nobles, who could stand the demon terror no longer. In despair, he sought out the famous warrior Minamoto no Yorimitsu and commanded him to slay the demon once and for all. Rather than face the beast in hopeless single combat, the clever Yorimitsu infiltrated Shuten Doji's lair, disguised as a mountain priest, and poisoned his sake. Then, once the monster had fallen asleep, he unsheathed Dōjigiri Yasutsuna and with a terrible stroke lopped off his head. The tale that isn't told is what happened during the Edo period, when a certain retainer became curious about exactly how well a demon-slaying sword could cut. The practice was called tameshigiri, test cutting, usually performed on bamboo, straw, or, shockingly, the corpses of the condemned. But Dōjigiri's test was different. The official record, preserved in the Kyoho-era Handbook of Famous Works, documents the result. 6 human bodies arranged in a stack. The blade passed through all 6 corpses and kept going all the way through the wooden stand beneath them, in a single stroke. After that gruesome test, Dōjigiri gained a new reputation, not just as a demon slayer, but as a blade that thirsted for impossible cuts. From then on, each owner became obsessed with testing its limits. The Ashikaga shoguns, the Toyotomi clan, the Tokugawa family, each generation that inherited the blade seemed compelled to push it harder, testing it against the most stalwart armor, slashing multiple helmets on increasingly elaborate arrangements, as if the sword itself demanded greater challenges. Today, the museum keeps Dōjigiri well out of reach, behind climate-controlled glass. They say it's for preservation, but consider this. Of all the national treasures in their collection, few inspire the same mixture of awe and unease among staff. Security protocols are strict. Temperature monitors, humidity sensors, multiple barriers, as if they're containing something more than just ancient steel. But even a blade that perfected slashing through grisly challenges pales when compared to our final entry, because while Dōjigiri killed demons and corpses, the Muramasa sword seemed to prefer a very specific type of victim, their owners themselves. Muramasa blades, the Shogun's curse. Every cursed blade we've discussed has a legend. But Muramasa blades have a body count you can verify in historical records. Sengo Muramasa was a real swordsmith active in Ise province during the early 1500s. The katanas that came from his forge were known for their exquisite sharpness and the dark, wave-like pattern of the hamon on each blade. Because of their exceptional quality, they were favored by the samurai of Mikawa, led by Tokugawa Ieyasu and his ancestors. However, unlike the refined smiths of Kyoto, Muramasa had a reputation. Contemporary accounts describe him as violent-tempered, unstable, a perfectionist driven to madness by his craft. Some say he collected metal from battlefields, not just raw material, but fragments of blades that had already tasted blood. It's been said he worked in darkness, away from shrines, away from purification rituals. Then came the pattern that would seal his legacy. 1535, Matsudaira Kiyoyasu, grandfather of the future shogun, was cut down by his own retainer, wielding a Muramasa blade. 20 years later, Matsudaira Hirotada, the father, stabbed to death. The blade that killed him? Another Muramasa. 1579, Matsudaira Nobuyasu, the son, ordered to commit seppuku by his own father. The blade used for his execution? You can already guess. 3 generations, 3 different Muramasa blades, all ending in Tokugawa blood. When Tokugawa Ieyasu became shogun, he didn't just ban Muramasa swords, he ordered them destroyed. Even possessing one became punishable by death. Samurai, desperate to keep their prized blades, filed off the signatures, altered the tang markings, and renamed them to hide their dark origin. But the curse wasn't finished. Those who secretly kept Muramasa blades reported a disturbing phenomenon. The swords refused to return to their scabbards without drawing blood. If no enemy was available, the blade would claim its payment from the wielder himself. By the 1700s, Muramasa had transcended history to become legend. Kabuki plays portrayed the blades as demon-possessed, driving their owners to madness and murder. Anti-Tokugawa rebels sought them out as symbols of resistance, weapons literally designed to spill shogunate blood. Today, after centuries in hiding, authentic Muramasa blades survive in museums and private collections. The Tokyo National Museum owns one dated 1513, designated as important cultural property. The Tokugawa family, yes, that Tokugawa family, still owns the cursed katana that belonged to Ieyasu himself. Modern metallurgists who've studied Muramasa blades note their exceptional sharpness, sharper than necessary for combat, sharp enough that inexperienced users often injured themselves by accident. Perhaps this explains the source of the legend behind their bloodthirsty reputation. Or perhaps not. Because here's what the museum catalogues don't mention. Every institution that houses a Muramasa employs unusually strict handling protocols for these dangerous katana. Temperature control, yes. Humidity monitoring, certainly, but also limited access, restricted viewing hours, and handlers who treat these particular blades with a reverence that borders on fear. 4 cursed blades, 4 different types of tragedy, all real, all waiting behind museum glass for those brave enough to seek them out. The unsettling question is, after 1,000 years of death, madness, and fallen dynasties, what is the true source of the curses behind these legendary blades? Here's the disturbing truth. Not one of these curses has ever been broken. The Tokugawa family still owns their Muramasa, locked away, never displayed. The imperial family still won't show Onimaru, and Kusanagi remains sealed at Atsuta Shrine. Every museum that houses these blades follows protocols that suggest they're handling something more dangerous than mere historical artifacts. So what created these curses? Modern historians offer 3 explanations. First, confirmation bias. When powerful families owned hundreds of swords, any tragedy could be blamed on whichever blade was nearest. The Tokugawa owned many finely crafted Muramasa swords, weapons of the highest quality. Ieyasu himself kept 2. Only the ones involved in deaths earned their reputations as cursed. Second, political manipulation. Declaring Muramasa blades cursed justified their ban. Onimaru's nightmare demon excused the Hojo clan's political failures. Kusanagi's disappearance at Dan-no-Ura helped legitimize the new emperor's claim. Third, the swords themselves. Japanese steel folding creates blades of extraordinary sharpness, sometimes too sharp even for experienced hands. Muramasa's exceptional edges caused accidents. Dōjigiri's legendary cutting ability invited dangerous testing. The weapon's own perfection became their curse. Whatever the truth, these 4 blades left their mark on Japanese culture. From kabuki to manga, from video games to blockbuster films, the cursed sword remains Japan's most enduring supernatural weapon. Today, millions visit these blades every year. They stand where you can stand, seeing what emperors and shoguns saw, steel that shaped a nation's nightmares. And their handlers still whisper prayers before opening certain cases. If you're planning your own pilgrimage, Dōjigiri waits for you in Tokyo National Museum. Onimaru rests with the Imperial Household Agency, rarely displayed but occasionally visible. Kusanagi, if it exists, remains sealed at Atsuta Shrine. And the Muramasa blades? They're scattered across collections worldwide, some waiting silently to be rediscovered. Perhaps the real curse is simpler than demons or bloodlust. Perhaps it's the weight of history itself, the knowledge that these katana ended lives, toppled dynasties, and changed Japan's destiny. When you look through that museum glass, you're not just seeing steel. You're seeing the shadow of every hand that held it, every life it took, every family it destroyed, friend or foe. 4 swords, 4 curses, 4 blades that cast their shadows across centuries, lodging in memory long after they've been sheathed.